1970, Bob, was your only final, the first semi-final against St Kilda at the MCG. 104,000 people in. What are your memories of that? How'd you play?
Oh, yeah, average. Wasn't one of the greatest games, but it was just great to be there. It was great to get there. And, you know, the fact that we won enough games through the year, you know, to be there and get that feeling of team success. You know, when you're playing a team game, the ultimate is team success. And, you know, I've been invited to the Premiership Club luncheons and everything else, but, you know, I've never ever gone because, you know, I didn't make it.
Is that the sense of not belonging to something like that?
Oh, you know, yeah, in a sense. Yeah. You know, they're all great blacks and, you know, but I'm just so envious of them. You know, like one of my closest friends these days is Bluey Adams, who play with Melbourne. And, you know, when they asked me to present the Premiership Cup to North Melbourne, you know, as it turned out, you know, going way back, I wrote in the paper that day, you know, that, you know, I'd swap my Brownlows for a Premiership Cup. And Bluey Adams, who played in 6, rang me up and said, I'll swap you one.
Yeah. Let's go back to the start. You're 17, there's a few injuries at South Melbourne, and you're named to play in the first at 17. Would have been pretty rough in those days, wouldn't it?
Oh, you know, they say it was, but you don't even think about those things, and you know, until you cop a few, and you know, and then you know, once you're out there, you realise that you know, if you don't want to cop them, don't get the footy. You know, they don't whack anybody who hasn't got the footy.
That's true.
You know?
But you used to get it a bit, so you got whacked a bit.
Yeah, well, it's part and parcel.
Was it brutal? I can remember watching the footy then, and I think it was brutal, but you played it. Was it sort of excessively hard and tough?
I think it's just as hard and just as tough now. The pace they go at and everything else, when they hit, they hit. I admire the players just as much now as I did the players then. You know, they've got just as much courage. They're harder at it in many respects in some ways, but the game is different. It has changed.
It's changed, but you used to look like you had a dartboard over your face. I mean, there was a lot of blokes took pot shots at it. And how many times was that handsome nose broken, Bobby?
Oh, I don't count them.
Double figures?
You know, oh yeah, you know, yeah, Jack Refshawgy, you know, he wouldn't operate until I promised him I wasn't going to play another game.
Did the Brownlow have an aura about it back then?
Oh, nothing like now.
No.
But, you know, it doesn't take long to realise that it really means something, because all of a sudden, you know, your house is full of people and there's, you know, more knocking on the door and...
Reporters?
Oh, yeah.
Photographers?
Yeah. And so... you start to realise, hey, you know, this is pretty good.
Is that what you in your day, it was unusual for blokes to be equally proficient on both sides of their body as you were? What was the origin of that?
And that was my dad, you know, who I never ever saw Dad play.
He played at Port Melbourne?
He had, played 12 years at Port and was captain and coach and such. And we used to go over the park after he came back from the war, and he would say, oh, I won't kick it back unless you kick it with the other foot. And then when you start to get a little bit proficient and such, you know, you get a bit of a buzz about, you know, being able to do it.
Yep.
And it became pretty natural.
Bobby, I've been trying to think of a contemporary player that reminds me of you, and the closest I can come is Simon Black, left footer.
I think Simon Black is one of my favourites. You know, like you always have a few favourites, and I just loved the consistency of Simon Black and the way he went about it week in, week out.